Hey Rayleigh, and anybody else watching, and welcome back to another message from your father. So today, Job 9 through 12, and we have been looking at Eliphaz, and we looked at Bildad yesterday. So Eliphaz spoke, we saw Job's response to him, and then we saw Bildad speak. So today we're going to be looking at Job's response to Bildad, and then we're going to hear from Zophar, again, these three friends. And then after Zophar, Job's going to respond to that. So all of this is going to be 9, 10, 11, and 12. And we'll talk about this because Job says some really, really interesting stuff here that's not... Some of it is what you would expect someone in lamenting to say. But Job takes a lot of this a step further. And I think there's a lot here that's important to point out. But I'll keep it very brief. So again, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So chapter 9. Then Job replied, "Indeed, I know that this is true, but how can a mortal be righteous before God? Though one wished to dispute with him, he could not answer him 1 time out of 1,000. His wisdom is profound, his power is vast. Who has resisted him and come out unscathed? He moves mountains without their knowing it, and overturns them in his anger. He shakes the earth from its place and makes its pillars tremble. He speaks to the sun, and it does not shine. He seals off the light of the stars. He alone stretches out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. He is the maker of the Bear and Orion, the Pleiades and the constellations of the south. He performs wonders that cannot be fathomed, his miracles that cannot be counted. When he passes by, I cannot see him. When he goes by, I cannot perceive him. If he snatches away, who can stop him? Who can say to him, 'What are you doing?' God does not restrain his anger. Even the cohorts of Rahab cowered at his feet. How then can I dispute with him? How can I find words to argue with him? Though I were innocent, I could not answer him. I could only plead with my judge for mercy. Even if I summoned him and he responded, I do not believe that he would give me a hearing. He would crush me with a storm and multiply my wounds for no reason. He would not let me regain my breath, but would overwhelm me with misery. If it is a matter of strength, he is mighty. And if it is a matter of justice, who will summon him? Even if I were innocent, my mouth would condemn me. If I were blameless, it would pronounce me guilty. Although I am blameless, I have no concern for myself. I despise my own life. It is all the same. That is why I say he destroys both the blameless and the wicked. When a scourge brings sudden death, he mocks the despair of the innocent. When a land falls into the hands of the wicked, he blindfolds its judges. If not he, then who is it? My days are swifter than a runner. They fly away without the glimpse of joy. They skim past like boats of papyrus, like eagles swooping down on their prey. If I say, I will forget my complaint, I will change my expression and smile, I still dread all my sufferings, for I know you will not hold me innocent, since I am already found guilty. Why should I struggle in vain? Even if I washed myself with soap and my hands with washing soda, you would plunge me into a slime pit, so that even my clothes would detest me. He is not a man like me that I might answer him, that we might confront each other in court. If only there were someone to arbitrate between us, to lay his hand upon us both, someone to remove God's rod from me, so that his terror would frighten me no more. Then I would speak up without fear of him, but as it now stands with me, I cannot. Chapter 10. I loathe my very life. Therefore, I will give free rein to my complaint and break out in the bitterness of my soul. I will say to God, do not condemn me, but tell me what charges you have against me. Does it please you to oppress me, to spurn the work of your hands while you smile on the schemes of the wicked? Do you have eyes of flesh? Do you see as a mortal sees? Are your days like those of a mortal, or your years like those of a man, that you must search out my faults and probe after my sin, though you know that I am not guilty and that no one can rescue me from your hand? Your hands shaped me and made me. Will you now turn and destroy me? Remember that you molded me like clay. Will you now turn me to dust again? Did you not pour me out like milk and curdle me like cheese, clothe me with skin and flesh, and knit me together with bones and sinews? You gave me life and showed me kindness, and in your providence watched over my spirit. But this is what you concealed in your heart, and I know that this was in your mind. If I sinned, you would be watching me, and would not let my offense go unpunished. If I am guilty, woe to me. Even if I am innocent, I cannot lift my head, for I am full of shame and drowned in my affliction. If I hold my head high, you stalk me like a lion, and again display your awesome power against me. You bring new witnesses against me and increase your anger towards me. Your forces come against me wave upon wave. Why then did you bring me out of the womb? I wish that I had died before an eye saw me. If only I had never come into being, or had been carried straight from the womb to the grave. Are not my few days almost over? Turn away from me so that I can have a moment of joy before I go to the place of no return, to a land of gloom and deep sorrow, to the land of deepest night, of deep shadow and disorder, where even the light is like darkness. Chapter 11. Then Zophar the Naamathite replied, Are all these words to go unanswered? Is this talker to be vindicated? Will your idle talk reduce men to silence? Will no one rebuke you when you mock? You say to God, My beliefs are flawless, and I am pure in your sight. Oh, how I wish that God would speak, that he would open his lips against you and disclose to you the secrets of wisdom, for true wisdom has two sides. Know this, God has even forgiven some of your sin. Can you fathom the mysteries of God? Can you probe the limits of the Almighty? They are higher than the heavens. What can you do? They are deeper than the depths of the grave. What can you know? Their measure is longer than the earth and wider than the sea. If he comes along and confines you in prison and convenes a court, who can oppose him? Surely he recognizes deceitful men. And when he sees evil, does he not take note? But a witless man can no more become wise than a wild donkey's colt can be born a man. Yet, if you devote your heart to him and stretch out your hands to him, if you put away the sin that is in your hand, and allow no evil to dwell in your tent, then you will lift up your face without shame. You will stand firm and without fear. You will surely forget your trouble, recalling it only as waters gone by. Life will be brighter than noonday, and darkness will become like morning. You will be secure because there is hope. You will look about you and take your rest in safety. You will lie down with no one to make you afraid, and many more will court your favor. But the eyes of the wicked will fail, and escape will elude them. Their hope will become a dying gasp. Chapter 12. Then Job replied, Doubtless you are the people, and wisdom will die with you. But I have a mind as well as you. I am not inferior to you. Who does not know all these things? I have become a laughingstock to my friends, though I called upon God, and he answered, a mere laughingstock, though righteous and blameless. Men at ease have contempt for misfortune, as the fate of those whose feet are slipping. The tents of marauders are undisturbed, and those who provoke God are secure, those who carry their God in their hands. But ask the animals, and they will teach you, or the birds of the air, and they will tell you, or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, or let the fish of the sea inform you. Which of all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every creature, and the breath of all mankind. Does not the ear test words as the tongue tastes food? Is not wisdom found among the aged? Does not long life bring understanding? To God belong wisdom and power. Counsel and understanding are his. What he tears down cannot be rebuilt. What he imprisons cannot be released. If he holds back the waters, there is drought. If he lets them loose, they devastate the land. To him belong strength and victory. Both deceived and deceiver are his. He leads counselors away, stripped, and makes fools of judges. He takes off the shackles put on by kings and ties a loincloth around their waist. He leads priests away, stripped, and overthrows men long established. He silences the lips of trusted advisers and takes away the discernment of elders. He pours contempt on nobles and disarms the mighty. He reveals the deep things of darkness and brings deep shadows into light. He makes nations great and destroys them. He enlarges nations and disperses them. He deprives the leaders of the earth of their reason. He sends them wandering through a trackless waste. They grope in darkness with no light. He makes them stagger like drunkards. So what's really interesting here is we have so many different depictions of God and so many different examples of God's greatness and his strength. And I really like that because I think there's so much in our world today at this present time that people are currently unafraid of God. They claim that there is no God, and at the same time that they hate God. And if God were here, here's what I'd tell him. I'd give him a piece of my mind. And I don't think there's any wisdom in that. I think when we look at this, Job and his friends really seem to have a good picture of, hey, here is where God is, and we're not even on the scale. I mean, I've shown that, I've talked about that disparity between man and God before. But here, Job and his friends really all seem to be doing a good job of saying, who can begin to question him? If he wants to do whatever he wants, he can do it. We are no one to question God. And there's a lot of wisdom in that. So I wanted to mention that. So any entreaty that we may come to God with is exactly that. It's a plea. We can demand, really, truly, nothing of God. But there is something else that's interesting in there, and that is 9:32 and 35. And this is so good. This is I think it's one of my favorite Old Testament chapters. So 9:32 through 35. This is Job talking. He is not a man like me that I might answer him, that we might confront each other in court. If only there were someone to arbitrate between us, to lay his hand on us both, someone to remove God's rod from me, so that his terror would frighten me no more. Then I would speak up without fear of him. But as it stands now with me, I cannot. And that is awesome. That is talking about nobody but Christ. That is Christ right there. Christ is the only person that can arbitrate because he's God's son and he has lived that life that we cannot. I mean, Job goes on about how he cannot even begin to converse with God. And yet because of Christ we can, not because of what we've done, but because Christ can arbitrate, because Christ can act as that intermediary between us and the Father. And that is so, 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 so important. So that's part of my prayer for you, really, that you recognize that even in times of greatest despair, unlike Job, we have someone who is on our behalf in the person of Christ. Job didn't have that yet. So he was relying on the old sacrificial system and didn't understand what was happening. Well, even when we're going through hardship, we know that we have an arbitrator in Christ and that we can come to God in humility and recognize, God, I don't know what's happening, and I pray you take this pain away. But if you don't, I will still worship you and still strive to be the man that you want me to be or the person that you want me to be. And I can do all that because of Christ, your son. Anyway, that's my prayer for you. Know that I love you so much. And as always, I am praying for you. For anybody else, know that I appreciate you so much as well. And I'll plan on seeing you tomorrow. Have a good one.